And now, please welcome CEO of Dubai Airports, Paul Griffiths, Chief Commercial Officer of Emirates, Adnan Kazim, and CEO of dnata Travel Group, John Bevan, in discussion with Senior Director of Innovation at Skift Advisory, Oliver Martin.
Good morning, everyone. Just give us a sec here to get set up. There's two worse times to be on stage, and one of them happens to be just before lunch. So bear with us today. I'm joined by Adnan from Emirates Airlines, Paul from Dubai Airports, and John from the dnata Group. We are going to talk about airlines, we're going to talk about airports, and we're going to talk about everything that makes that magic happen, which is the operator. We're going to talk about Dubai, Dubai within the region, and Dubai, more broadly speaking, as a global hub and a connector of people and ideas around the world. We're going to start off with the first question. I'm going to direct it to Adnan. We're finishing COP28. It was all about environment, sustainability, and the future of our planet. It was hosted here in Dubai. It's been looked at as a very successful agreement that we managed to achieve over a period of time. It was a lot of work that went into it. Airlines, airports, and the operators in our business are crucial within that mix. But we as an industry have traditionally lagged behind other industries in our commitment to that. So I want Adnan to start us off and tell us about specifically Emirates, but also the airline's role in ensuring that we are moving forward on sustainability commitments. Then I want to get to you, and then I want to get to you, my friend.
Sure. Yeah, I think, in terms of the change in the industry from the SAF side, it's quite it's a long way to go still, I think, in terms of the industry shaping up. But we, as an airline, fully committed as far as the SAF is concerned, bringing the CO2 emission to minimum possible. We were already committed as far as the net zero 2050 IATA that we signed. We had few test flights with 100% SAF that we operated within Dubai for both Boeing 777ER and for the 380. We even had a flight, many sort of random flights based on SAF sort of fuel that we operated to Sydney, for example, that we got the fuel from Shell. We even have signed an agreement which was between Honeywell, Boeing, us, and Etihad Airways, which was part of it, driving the national sort of roadmap and journey as far as the SAF is concerned for the United Arab Emirates by 2030. So as far as EK is concerned, or Emirates, we're fully committed to drive the change on the SAF angle. We even secured 3 million kg of fuel for 24-25 that will be supplying mainly to airports, Amsterdam and Singapore. But again, as I said, as far as we're concerned, it's a lot to be done from the ecosystem of the change that need to come, and whether that to do with the government or to do with the supply chain, the engine with its GE or Rolls-Royce, or could be coming from even from the Boeing and Airbus. And the quantity that need to come in at a commercially viable sort of size so that airlines can be using it in the future. And that's not there yet. I think there is a lot of change that need to come in terms of moving from the fossil fuel, the A1 fuel, into more SAF, and that needs a lot of investment coming from various stakeholders and putting money behind it to make it available in terms of the quantity. But again, that's one element of it. So you need the oil companies to be part of this ecosystem. You need airports to be engaged as part of that change as well. It's a multi-layer. But one thing I can guarantee that from Emirates side, we're fully committed to drive the change, provided that will be more available from the commercial side of it, more viable in terms of the prices, and the quantity is enough to drive that change. I think that we try to achieve it.
Thanks, Adnan. Okay, so let's get to the airport side and where you fit into that mix.
I think the thing is, this is a difficult journey to establish and overcome incrementally. We can do things on the ground a lot easier than we can do them in the air. And what we're committed to We just signed a deal this week to actually generate over 50 megawatts of solar power from all of the roofs of the airport buildings. We're committed to sending zero waste to landfill. We're not going to license vehicles that are not powered by green energy within a few years. I know dnata are trialling some electric-powered vehicles, and we're looking at hydrogen buses. So things that don't leave the ground, we've got a solution for. The problem is in the air, as Adnan has said. A lot of these things are incremental, but they're probably not moving at a rate that's quick enough. And I think the part of the problem is the sort of relationship, the three-way relationship between the governments and the regulators, the consumer and the industry. Now, there's a pattern for this. In the 30s, when civil aviation began, the accident rate was simply appalling. And what happened is the world joined together and said that we have to do something about aviation safety. So governments cooperated and mandated a common standard for people to follow that's still followed today. Industry responded by innovating to make aviation safer, and you are now 81 times less likely to be involved in an aeroplane incident than you were in only 1970. So it's got safer over time. That's because of the cooperation of industry and government. But the consumer's role is actually aviation safety is now embedded in the cost of an airline ticket. And I'm sure if I took a poll here and said, look, I found a plane in the desert, we could put some fuel in it, it hasn't flown for a few years, but I'll offer you a ticket which is half the cost of your return airfare at the moment, but you might not quite get there. Any takers, please? No, someone's leaving the room, they're so disgusted at that proposition. So the thing is, to me, there needs to be a step change in the focus on this, and ultimately the industry has to cooperate with government, who have to mandate the level playing field on sustainability. And ultimately, if we end up paying more for goods and services because they're completely sustainable, to me, that's a price worth paying.
Okay.
So obviously from my side, I'm on the travel, I'm a travel business. So on the corporate travel side, it's all about data, it's all about reporting. All our corporate clients need to have that information because obviously a lot of those large corporate companies have committed to net zero at some point in time. Therefore, they need to understand what their travelers are emitting. So that's already in place, and those metrics will carry on improving as the processes come out and improvement in data happens. On the leisure side, I've often said this, we care immensely about sustainability and about the world, but the human beings absolutely adore traveling, they adore discovering the world, and I don't see that appeasing. All the research is showing now that the sustainable choices are becoming more important, and so what we've engaged in doing is working hard to try and find a way to offer the customers the choice, so they can make that choice based on how sustainable a hotel or a service is. The problem today, a little bit going towards what Paul's saying, is there's no common standard. Unlike the star rating, which we know is not perfect around the world, but at least gives you an indication. At the moment, there's multiple bodies assessing sustainability for hotels, for example. So we are working on trying to take the best ones or the biggest ones and then do a common platform and feed that through to we'll have that live actually next year for our consumers to choose. My job really isn't to tell people to go sustainable. My job really is to offer them the best choice. And those who are willing to pay the difference, because often that is more expensive, then they can do so.
Okay, I feel like you're teeing me up for my next point here. So Skift Advisory Research looked at travel consumers coming to the Middle East to assess where sustainability fits into the mix, where it fits into that decision tree. Around 78%, so almost 80% of travelers believed that sustainability was important in that overall mix when they planned travel, the hotel, the tour operator, or the airline they were flying, or the overall destination. Half that, 36%, were willing to pay up to 5% for sustainable option. However, and all three of you represent businesses, about half of that group didn't necessarily trust the business that was selling the good in terms of their sustainability commitments of what either you were saying or whether or not it was third-party certified. So I'm not trying to put you on a hot seat, but are you doing enough to communicate your sustainability efforts to the end consumer so that they start making those better choices? And who would like to take that question?
I don't mind starting. I mean, on the part of the hotels, as I said, it's really difficult. There's lots of different schemes. They don't all measure the same things. Some of them are self-certification. The hotel just ticks a load of things that they say they do. A few of them are properly visited and certified. I think the whole sustainability debate is going in the right direction. There's still a lot of work to be done in actually really calculating it all. You know, when you hear of new hotels coming out saying they're going to be net zero, you kind of have to think, really? And so what we're not doing as a company within dnata, I've refused to do offsetting as a rule. The only thing we will be offsetting is our own travel, because obviously during COVID we went to zero. So anything that we start traveling now is on top of the zero base. So we have committed to offset that. But everything else we're working on reducing. So we are walking the talk. We've done enormous work across our offices. I only have offices and people traveling around, apart from my DMCs, where we have got vehicles, and we have moved to biofuel. Well, we've started introducing biofuel into some of the fleets and in our camps, and we are saving a fair amount of carbon on that. But I think there's still a long way to go on the whole calculation. Is it accurate? The accuracy. So at the moment, the best we can do is take what's out there, digest it, and then show the consumer what we think is coming out of the whole calculation. What I am seeing, though, is those figures you gave, if you go back just before COVID, they were 5% would be willing to pay anything at all.
So it's that incremental.
So it is improving. So anyone that's in travel today that is ignoring it, then they are literally heading for a cliff, because the customer will at some point be prepared to pay a lot more, and that number will only increase. But we need better data. We need more consensus.
Paul, you're smiling.
Well, I think I'm smiling because I think that the change in behavior has to be on both sides. You know, we need to run better businesses that are embracing all of the sustainability techniques that we need to deploy, and we need to make those efficient. And then we also need the support of governments, not necessarily financially, but to make sure that actually the consumer has a level playing field of choice. And the difficulty, I think, is at the moment it's seen as an option. You can tick the box to add another few dollars to your flight to make it sustainable. I wonder if we need it the other way around. This flight is sustainable unless you uncheck the box and admit you don't care about the planet.
So opt-out versus opt-in.
I think that's probably the way to go, but I think this triumvirate between government regulation, consumer behavior, and industry efficiency and innovation, that needs to be in sync. We need some sort of circularity there, and I think that's missing at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, just to add, I think from our side, there are so many initiatives going on. Besides the SAF itself, I think in terms of onboard recycling product that we use, whether we take the bottles into recycle or we use the cooking oil into the fuel, there are so many things that's happening today. But again, how you measure it and whether that measurement of what we are doing today good enough, or are we making the impact in terms of the change? It might be today where we stand is quite small, tiny, but to bring in the change, again, it goes back to the core. And the core will be coming around the SAF, around change in enough quantity that commercially available to drive that change. There are so many things happening across the board. Definitely there is no one area to measure everything. And the impact, the way we see it, I mean, even though they are all in good line, good faith, and driving the change, but still too small, I think, to bring in that impact. I think that maybe the consumer expect to get out of it.
Okay. I want to switch gears to demographics. Rafat, and I'm not sure where he is very fond of speaking about demographics and where we are going as a societies and as a planet. Dubai, where it sits in the region, you happen to be sandwiched between two of the largest economies and populations in the world. We've got China, we've got India. We've also got a very large young population in Africa. How is Dubai and where you sit in the mix, the airline, the airport, and your operator, where you sit in terms of capturing that demographic groups, older populations in China, very young, vibrant populations in India, China, and also in Africa. But then how is Dubai preparing for that big demographic explosion? Now, keep in mind, we just talked about sustainability. And sustainability in the mix of population is a dynamic we've got to work with. So who would like to?
I mean,
Let's go ahead.
From our side, we're driving the change in terms of the growth. Dubai, definitely, I think today, if any success that we're in it today is coming from the city. The city is vibrant, city is really well equipped. It offers so many things in terms of job opportunities, in terms of place for people to enjoy their holiday or shopping, and so many things that comes through the ecosystem of Dubai today. And for us, the way forward is all around how we can bring in and take advantage of the big population sitting surrounding Dubai. It could be continent Africa, could be in subcontinent, or even the eastern part of Europe, or Europe in particular. And what we're investing today for the way forward around the Airbus 350, which will come in 25% more efficient fuel, the 787 that's coming on the way. It's all about that sort of growth that we're aiming for. So what you see today in Emirates with 130 destinations that we cover, this number will look completely different as a way forward. What's coming is around the D33 vision of Dubai, which is all around linking Dubai with 400 cities. And the plan that we have definitely will cope to that in terms of having 350 aircraft by 2030. All of them are wide body. It gives us kind of a range efficiency of the fuel, but at the same time, it opens new opportunity and bring new population to Dubai that today maybe Dubai doesn't have it. I mean, in terms of the mix that we carry today.
Paul, you've got a footprint of where you are, and you mentioned that you're eventually limited by the size of the footprint at DXB. How are you preparing for that large demographic shift?
Well, the interesting thing, of course, is all about capacity, but people used to look at capacity very differently a few years ago. If you need more airport capacity, you build something, right? That was the sort of inevitable conclusion. But actually, if you think about what an airport is, you're trying to get the maximum number of people through a particular space. And I think we share something with the prison service, that the least amount of time we detain our customers, the happier they are. And the great thing is, of course, if you can speed through investment in technology and process people through a facility, so you can get double the number and the actual physical capacity is, say, 10 million, you get 20 million people through in half the time. A, they're happier. B, it's more effective and efficient. And you've saved a bunch of capital because you've invested in technology instead of building more stuff. However, there's a limit, right? You can only get to a certain number with that. And we still think we've got probably 20 to 30 million additional passengers we could get through our airport at DXB. But we will physically outgrow it at some stage, and we will have to build a bigger expansion of Al Maktoum International to cope with that demographic change.
And John, you're preparing for that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Dubai's got so much to offer. I've only been here 2.5 years, and my impression of Dubai changed within months of being here. And when you see the range of hotels, you now have all-inclusive, which didn't used to have. There's a lot of self-catering product. You look at all the different activities you can do here. It can cater for all of those different population types and even age, whether it's the Gen Zs or the older generations or even the younger ones, you know, between the Instagrammable sort of sites to the historic. There's just so much to do here, such a choice of accommodation range. And then you've got all of the countries around it, right? So you've got Abu Dhabi now. We're doing quite a lot of twin centers now. Before, people used to go up to Abu Dhabi for the day and come back. There's so much going on there now that actually go and stay there a couple of nights. Same with Ras Al Khaimah and so on. And obviously, we're really looking to open up towards the rest of the GCC.
Okay, we've got 9 minutes on the clock, so there's two things I do want to touch. And the first one is Dubai, for the last, say, generation, has been an icon, and it's had a very prominent position in the global tourism industry. There's a number of folks here around the audience that represent destinations that might consider themselves competitors, or you might consider them competitors to Dubai and where you sit in the mix, or peers. How will Dubai continue to have that prominence as a tourism destination, and how does your organization fit into that? And how are you part of that? And then I want to start with you in terms of Emirates.
As far as the network, as I mentioned earlier, we are well established from the network side in terms of the growth that we're creating, which will bring new opportunities to this place. In addition to that, we're working around the partnership. Today we have over sort of 100 countries that we cover, 800 cities in terms of the new opportunity that we are trying to establish, over 5,200 O&D pairs that we link today with Dubai and with our network. So there are two ways of growth that's happening from the network, EK on growth, and the partnership growth in terms of the way forward. And what's helping us, as mentioned earlier, Dubai is well equipped and has quite a clear vision in terms of number of hotels that's coming on the way to get into completely a new level by 2030. The city is expanding and building new sort of form of transportations around metros and different lines. So I think the way we're shaping in terms of the growth and the way Dubai is shaping up in terms of the growth as well, I think they're matching each other in terms of meeting the requirement of the future. And for us, as it's all about bringing new opportunities. So what's coming from Emirates side is not about the existing network that we're talking about, but creating new places. And new places always bring in new people, I think, to this place.
And John, how does dnata make that happen? And you touched on this briefly, you know.
Yeah, so with our DMC Arabian Adventures, we're already in Oman, we'll soon be in KSA. I see this as a real opportunity for the region. When you look at Asia, most people go to Asia, do a twin or triple center. And I'd love to see this whole region of the Middle East become that. So people, and I think Dubai will always be the shining star. People will want to stop here on the way to Saudi or Oman and do different trips. One thing I hadn't discovered until I got here is how different the cultures are between each country. So there's a cultural element, there's some incredible sites. But then, of course, you've got the sports and all other reasons to come to the region. And we know Saudi's doing a lot on the sports side. There's a lot happening here. So suddenly you can really make it a real fun program to do with engaging multiple countries. So I think the bigger it all gets, the better it is for the whole region.
This is quite different thinking for DMOs. DMOs tend to think very traditionally in terms of their individual destination, and everyone else is either competitor or taking away hotel revenue. So an interesting point. Paul, you want to jump in here?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I actually disagree with that idea of competition. I think it's augmentation. Because when I was at school far too long ago... Augmentation, yeah. When I was at school far too long ago, when we studied geography, there were always images of Paris with the Eiffel Tower and various other places with their iconic buildings. But when you talked about the Middle East, it was a sort of bit of a grey area, and we didn't know that there was this fantastic secret of these so many fantastic destinations. And look at travel habits. I'm going to offend a few people because, look at the mass travel markets from China, from Japan, from the US. When they go to Europe, for example, they don't just go to London. They'll go to Paris, to Frankfurt, Madrid, 14 cities in 8 days for $99 it used to be. And the thing is, you see, the Middle East has got so many treasures in so many places. What an amazing opportunity for long-haul travelers to visit the entire region. So if they come to Dubai, they can now go to Riyadh, they can go to Alula, they can go to Bahrain, they can go to Muscat. They can join all these wonderful things which are now getting onto the tourist map. And it's a great opportunity,
So I'm going to ask a show of hands here. When you travel for leisure purposes, do you go to one destination for that trip or multiple destinations? So all of those that do one destination, put your hands up. And how many go to multiple destinations? Right. Okay. So we have to start thinking like the consumer when it comes to this type of experience. And again, many people, because I used to be at a DMO, right? I used to be at Destination Canada way back when. We would only ever think it's our destination. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. 10 odd years ago when we started doing work with Dubai Tourism, we were told at the time, you gotta think big, you gotta think bold, and you gotta think beautiful. How are you now thinking for Dubai in the next 10 years? Big, bold, and beautiful. From an airline perspective, the airport, and then dnata, making it all happen.
I mean, from us, it's going to be quite a big in terms of the scale and the size of this city, the way we'll stand, and the network that we're building around the city. We're talking about 350 aircraft that is coming within the DXB, a lot of aircraft. Within the DXB horizon, and this is all wide-body aircraft. We don't have a single type of aircraft, so it's quite big. And in terms of the network growth, if we're today doing 130 stations, that number will be much bigger in terms of the reach in the future that we're trying to build around that. So what's coming, I would say, from the up to 2030, 32, 33, when the new airport will come in. But the future growth for this city, I think if we're today a mega airport or a global airport, I would say that what's coming in the future will be quite a mega airport in terms of the size, in terms of the scale, and what's building around. And one thing I think I forgot to mention that was driving the change for us, what you're seeing today, and Emirates sort of mix is all around we used to have by design 70-30 traffic, 70 beyond and 30 to Dubai. Today we're getting 40% of the traffic coming to Dubai, and that's where the number is shaping up for Dubai in terms of the tourists, in terms of inbound to Dubai, and it's really making the city quite busy. Would that change or not? Most probably will change a little bit, but Dubai always will stand to be ahead of the game in terms of the attraction, in terms of people coming and visiting the city as a way forward.
And Paul, you ready for that?
Absolutely. Well, the big, I think we're pretty much there. We've been the largest international airport for 9 years now, and we're continuing to grow. We do not want to constrain growth. That's something that cannot be on the agenda. So the technology I've discussed will see us through for another 20, 30 million. But then what we've got to do is take the bold step of creating this mega airport. But to me, the tricky bit is the beautiful. How do we make something of that scale actually beautiful? And I think the idea of bringing back intimacy to travel again has got to be the way forward. This mass aggregation that I spoke about earlier is largely unpleasant. So we've got to make it intimate and beautiful.
John, quickly, how are you going to make that beautiful experience in Dubai?
I feel extremely privileged to be in the situation I'm in today. The toughest thing is keeping up with the ideas that Issam and his team have got for Dubai. There's ideas coming out every few weeks, and it's an absolute pleasure to be promoting a destination that's only going one way. It's getting more exciting. I think Saudi opening up is going to be super exciting as well. You know, I've been in travel for 35 plus years. I used to be in the UK selling a lot of European. It's how do you rebadge Paris? They're lovely destinations that they are. Here, it's blank sheet all the time. You've got new ideas coming out. So it's actually more
the innovation thing.
Keeping it all under control and sticking to what works, but trying new stuff out as well. So I think the future here is super bright, and it's going to be big.
And we're going to leave it at that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.